Call in order, roll call of the airport board. We've got actually everybody here except Brian. And time for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Keep it in your mind, everybody, to have your cell phone silent. Item 3, call for conflicts of interest. Anybody on the board have any conflicts of interest? Done. Item 4, changes to the agenda. None that I'm aware of. Item 5, approved minutes of the previous meeting from April 9th, 2025. I need a motion to approve. One second.
I'll second.
Motion made, seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against, say nay. Carried unanimously. Item 6, staff reports. First item, reports, updates from Ordura. Where are you at?
Maurice Bickford with Ardura. Let's talk through the projects that are ongoing, that are engineering projects. The first one is the runway 624 we have. That project was actually physically complete over a year ago. We are still working on the closeout paperwork, and we need to do an Aegis survey, which will be done in conjunction with the Taxiway Charlie project for cost savings. It's an aerial flight, and then that will be uploaded into the FAA system. So we're waiting for the Taxiway Charlie project to be done in order to physically close it out. So there's still some outstanding money that the county needs to be reimbursed from the FAA, but it just takes time. The Taxiway Charlie project is really currently underway. I'm sure you guys that use the airport all the time have noticed. They're working, I think it's 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. The prime contractor really trying to get it, completed and back open for all the users. And the airport's been really good in helping with the contractor as far as, with the closures and barricades and stuff. We're trying to, not trying the patience of anybody. We're trying to really keep out of everybody's way, but it's, with runway 624 being closed, it is impacting. The scheduled closure of 624 is June 10th through the 25th, with, hopefully no weather delays. It should be open and striped and everything by the 25th. And 220 had a quick closure last week, and I don't believe it will be closed again because they were able to do it all in one day. We thought it was going to take 2 days. It worked out great that it didn't. Let's see here. So we expect this whole Taxiway Charlie to be open and ready for operation by the end of June with, no pending weather delays. So let's see here, Coeur d'Alene, the ARP equipment procurement. Basically, the to-date thing on that is we had bid it once. We didn't receive any bids. We had been waiting until August to rebid it. The airport actually is going to request an upgrade to the Index B, which is the current truck that they have. The FAA was only willing to fund an Index A, but with the recent cert inspection, they're going to resubmit the application for an in-kind or the same size truck. We will see what the FAA comes back with on that one. Then Ardura has started work on the Taxiway A rehab project. So far, what we have done is the survey and the geotech work. We received the geotech component of it, I think on Monday of this week, and we're working through the recommendations. We're hoping to do like a crabs approach on that, and so the geotech was which you've seen where they just mill the asphalt and underlying base together, which is a quicker turnaround project. And instead of like digging it all out and then bringing it all back up, and then paving over the top of the surface after they add cement to it. It looks like the geotech is recommending they can do that. There's just some grade issues, so we need to go back and ask them how we're gonna deal with, like if you mill it out and then pave 4 inches on the top, you can't really connect in on the sides. So there's some more study that needs to happen with that. Turf landing area, we had submitted a scope of work to Gaston, and we're working through possibly beginning the final design and bidding and then construction observation for that. It was just submitted last week to Gaston, and maybe if funding looks okay, we will work on finishing that this year and getting it out to bid so that it can be constructed.
Gordon, will A include the run-up apron up by the Forest Service?
Not currently, no. It does include the one on the south side, or the one end, or the 2 ends. And then the only other ongoing project is the ALP and Exhibit A update. We have been waiting for that runway, or so there was a land release at the Ramsey Road extension, or whatever that's called now, at the east end. And we've been waiting for the pinning of that property that was sold to the city. It still hasn't been pinned, and so we can't do that update until we get the property pins, and then our surveyor can tie it and it can go to the back to the FAA for their acceptance.
Do you have any questions? Thank you, Corey. Move on to item B, reports updates from the airport director.
Absolutely. So kind of dovetailing on the Taxiway Charlie project, as you've seen, we have kind of interesting taxi routing to get to and from Empire and Stancraft. Currently, they have to go down Delta, actually enter runway 6 and 24, head down to Gulf, and then back up to November. So they're kind of zigzagging through there to get up. But that is allowing the contractor to work on both the Delta demolition that's on the north side and Taxiway Charlie at the same time. So hopefully that keeps them ahead of schedule. So far, it's been working out great. We have tons of barricades and lights out there. We've even gone out and pulled the bulbs out of taxiway lights that are in closed areas. So at nighttime, it literally only lights up the direction you can go through there. So it should be pretty clearly marked on how to maneuver around for the next 10 days or so. Also, with the Taxiway Alpha project, as Corey said, they will not fund the north side run-up area, the 2-0 run-up, because that has to do with that decoupling area until they determine exactly what we're going to do there. That's the reason the runway rehab was cut off at that RSA area, that whole area. They won't pave anything that they could possibly have to tear out or change. So once we get Alpha complete, the next step is to do that master plan, where we then master plan the runway extension project. We can't change essentially from the old plan to the new one until we do the master plan, where it says we're extending now instead of shortening any runways. So essentially it gets cut off there. We are, like you say, going to do the runway 2 run up, and that also hopefully includes the correction and the squaring up of down here where the airport office is. This technically is supposed to be gone by the end of next year, but could go a little bit further into 2027. But we're hoping that we can add another run up on this side currently, like where we're sitting, so you don't have to cross the runway to depart onto if you're coming out of Deltas. So hopefully we get all that.
So this building is slated to go away when?
The let is supposed to be gone by the end of next year, but it could go into 27 depending on the construction schedule for Alpha, because this reconfiguration happens with Alpha. Outside of our normal projects, we're just getting into obviously the mowing season. We're probably gonna be sending out all the letters about taking care of weeds and everything around the hangars. One thing this year, if someone is not able to take care of the weeds, we will go and just contact airport staff. We have tons of equipment that can get in there and get it done pretty quick. So I don't know if we'll do some quick fee or something like that, but sometimes people would rather just say, here's the $50 and take care of my hangar, get it done, and it's gone for the year. So we just want to keep the airport looking high and tight all the way around with gates and everything as well. So the guys are going to be getting paint machines out for our stuff. We'll probably be freshening up markings on runway 2 and 20. We'll be getting the double edge line striping done on Alpha, where we weren't able to last year, and then getting the movement lines in on all the taxi lanes. So there'll be a nice boundary line on any entry into a normal taxiway. That's the line which you would contact the tower at to pass. So you can move freely before those lines, after them, contact ground or tower on local. Outside of that, really no other updates as far as DOR is still looking like March of 26. Now they told us, so we're still waiting on pins and needles for that one. Outside of that, I can answer any questions.
You had a meeting scheduled with a person that was interested in a restaurant.
Yes, so had a meeting with the operator of the Skyway Cafe, and she more or less had come out just to kind of get a tour around the airport, see possible locations where she could do something like that. She is interested in looking at something. She's looking to lease something. She doesn't want to build and operate her own building. So it could be in addition to her location at Phelps Field. So we're kind of, she said, just kind of stay in touch. If there's a facility that opens up that could work for something like that, that makes sense. She'd look at exploring that, but definitely on board with getting some sort of a restaurant happening here. Absolutely. Went very well.
Anyone else have questions? Thanks, Gaston.
No problem.
Good item C, and I don't know anything about this because we had the air traffic control tower update.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be a guy.
Chris was planning, so Chris is our tower manager here. They lost one of their controllers to another company, so he's on the stick right now until 7. So he let me know that he was planning on being here, but he was not able to be here. I can give kind of a brief update on it. I mean, everything seems to be going well with the tower. Back online fully. There was an FCC issue with the licensing that was not on the contractor or the airport or even our local FAA offices. Essentially, when we're given frequencies from Tech Ops, from OSG, FAA, those are FAA frequencies that are FCC licensed for them to use. If someone else transmits on their frequency, now they require a separate license that piggybacks on that license, saying someone else can also transmit on those. They issued those to us and approved us to use them through an LOA process, and caught the error in Seattle saying, oh, we don't have the secondary license. And it had to do with if it's emergency use of the frequencies for an active fire event, you don't have to have the license. If you talk to GA aircraft and fire aircraft, you have to have the license. So that was one thing I kind of brought up. I was like, what? This is no different than anything we've done for the last 5 years with our contractors. And they're like, well, that was yesterday's rules. These are today's rules. So we need to get that license, and we're willing to fast track it for you. It should only take 48 hours or so. Going into a weekend, this was Friday at noon when they notified us. But you have to shut your tower down until that's at the file. I went to bat pretty hard with them on, you're willing to shut down a tower facility that is providing safety and sequencing for our airport over a clerical error in a piece of paper that needs to be dropped in the file. And they would not budge on that. Our local FSDO, local ATC tried as hard as they could as well to just say, let it continue to operate. They have an LOA to operate, just make the correction. But they would not. They said immediately shut down services, go back to uncontrolled class echo until we have that and we tell you to go. So got it all done, got back in the file, we're good to go now. So moving forward, everything's looking pretty good. Now we're just in the process of working in parallel with the FAA on our federal contract tower applications and our LOAs for the full 12 months. So if you still read the note, it shows like at the end of September, like last year, it's done. It has to stay that way until they check us off for the full 12-month that has our permanent movement area agreement in. So we basically have to go into like our driver's training manual that's in our ACM and have a whole tower section that when the towers are open, these are the rules. When the tower's closed, these are the rules. These are the lines on the map where the movement areas are. If you go into those lines, you contact the tower, you know, so we just have to solidify some of those documents and then we're good to go for after September. But
Any idea how soon we might have a natives?
that's another thing they're working on currently. They're actually getting pricing on the equipment itself to go into the tower. So I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks we'll get some budget numbers on that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
just a quick comment. I don't know if anybody else watched it, but today was the Senate confirmation hearings for Brian Bedford for FAA administrator. And I watched the whole thing, and one of the big points in there was contract hours. The emphasis on the senators saying, you will support these programs, contract hours. Important for small rural areas and stuff, and he's obviously committed to do that, so I guess that bodes well. Hopefully, but it's still a matter of time and money to get the towers and bureaucracy.
We're in a pretty good position with this coming online with the push for increasing the stability of the ATC system. I can tell you that through this process and talking with Seattle, in a way, we've kind of rocked the boat. We've shown a different way that you can address getting a tower at the airport. And half of the FAA is completely on board. Half of them are kind of like, well, you can just let us take care of it and we'll do it over the next 8 years. I'm like, well, that's not a solution for our airport. So we have been responsible for a lot of phone calls to their office, I guess, from other airports wondering, how did Coeur d'Alene do that? Did they get permission from you to do that? And they're like, well, it's a non-fed facility. We can't tell them no. They funded it themselves and they're self-sustaining. So not that they're irritated, but they're like, we're having to do a lot of explaining on why you have a tower and all these other airports are having to wait. So, but because of that, we are on they said that they have put Coeur d'Alene on the very short list for getting a federally funded tower because they don't want to deal with it anymore. So we might have been moved up the list. So that's good news. If we get a facility out of it and staff, that would be pretty amazing. So
We sell ours to another airport.
that's exactly right. We'll even go set it up.
How soon will we see the Forest Service set up operations for this year?
So they're staffed currently. They can accept tankers in to refill. They will have tankers on station probably just after the 1st of July. They're thinking like between the 1st and the 5th, having the tankers on station.
And if anything starts to happen with fire season prior to that, will they come in earlier then?
They could, then it comes down to our runway closure. That's where we're trying to get our runway done and finished before the bulk of fire season starts. We do have the ability for the fire bosses and all the helicopter traffic to still operate in and out of here, no problem. But until we get 6 and 2-4 open, none of the tankers can operate here yet. So we're trying to get it wrapped up and finished.
What's the timeline of the Bowser?
Uh,
Within this 15-day closure?
Yes, that was the original plan. There is we were just notified today by the contractor that the new threshold lights have not been received yet. And there isn't an exact ETA on that. So we have to delay the flight check. Everything will reopen. Everything will be functional minus the Mauser until those lights are in. So once they actually plug the lights into the bases, then they'll call for the flight check to check them out, and then they'll be online. But that'll probably be July-ish now.
It's an FAA contractor, it's not Colco.
It is Colco. They're working in conjunction with our taxiway Charlie project, but that is an FAA project. They're kind of piggybacking on our closure to get it done. So.
A bit more on the extension you mentioned earlier, there's going to be 220.
Yes.
Any idea when that might happen?
Honestly, I mean, it's a different pot of money that pays for those kind of geometry corrections. They have been telling us in the past that they don't have the money to even do the currently planned decoupling. That's why we've been able to kind of kick it down the line. We're just kicking it after our master plan, so we can kind of change the course officially and say, this is what we intend to do. It's gonna involve probably some property acquisition where we've always talked on that pinch point right at that North Ramsey gate. Just for runway protection zone, as you extend those runways out, there has to be room for taxiways, clearances and stuff like that. So there'll be some hopefully federal assistance in acquiring some of that property to do the extensions as well.
Anybody else have any questions for Gaston? Okay, we'll move on to the item D, KCOE Air Show update. Kirk, is that you?
Is that me, Gaston?
That's you.
Oh, yeah. Roll away in the right hand word.
Kirk with Coeur d'Alene Aviation. So as everyone knows, we're hosting an air show on June 28th.
Kirk, can we have you come up here? Because it makes it easier for her doing the minutes.
Front and center.
Is the microphone on there?
I'll sit here by for
There you go.
I know that works.
That'll work.
So it's been slow to sell tickets. Actually, Frank just mentioned to me that there's an issue with the ticketing website, but for 2 years I've heard let's host an air show. Everybody wants an air show. So I kicked in roughly $150,000 from under my mattress, and we've sold 674 tickets as of today, which is about $8,000 in revenue. So I'm getting a little uncomfortable, to say the least. We've got a really good show coming. We have 5 performers, P-51 Mustang, a Corsair, an RV-8, Long Easy, a Sukhoi, and we just, we're 99% sure, because it's an AV aircraft, but an F-18 will be here for a static display. But this is not a fly-in. I want everyone to know it's not a fly-in. We have people saying, "Hey, how do I get there? What do I do for a fly-in?" It's not a fly-in. It is an air show. Tim was here during 2004, and this is an air show. There's loop-de-loops, and there's smoke, and there's things, and there's stuff. So whatever we can do to promote it. My biggest thing about this is, first and foremost, everyone inside the airport has said, we want an air show. Let's see an air show. Let's do an air show. The second portion is, everyone outside that fence that doesn't utilize the airport thinks that this is just a bunch of rich people in here with money and fuel to burn. And I want to show the community that this is a community event. This is a way for the people outside the fence that aren't flying in and out of here, that aren't pilots. It's the Kootenai County Airport. This is a place for them to come and see aviation. And that's really one of my biggest things, is to show the people that have issues about noise and different things, and really show them what's here. So not only is it aircraft and staff displays, we have a number of vendors. Idaho Central Credit Union is here. They're here to talk about, hey, financing hangar construction, financing aircraft. Kootenai Health has kicked in a little bit of money to sponsor a kid zone. They're sponsoring earplugs and sunglasses. So the Coeur d'Alene Casino is doing a little bit of sponsorship thing. So I'm trying to make this a community event to bring everyone in to show what it is. So, the ticket sales have been frustrating. We're on 7 radio stations. We signed with KXOI Media. We're on digital billboards on the side of the freeway. We're all over the place. The only thing I can think is that day of, there's going to be a line of people going out to Highway 95 with cash in their hand. That's my last hope that we have. And I guess the thing to touch on is Coeur d'Alene Aviation is still a small business. To come up, business owners in the room to have $150,000 in liquidity takes well over $1 million to produce. So I'm remaining positive. Gaston's been amazing. The entire airport's been amazing. Gaston just worked on a 6-page action plan that came out. We think might have been fueled by people at the FAA looking at, wait a second, this tower and your frequencies, and now what's this LOA waiver to do an air show? He just worked on an entire plan over the past week to appease the people over in Seattle. We have a huge emergency safety plan. Northern Lakes Fire is involved. Pekin County Sheriff is involved. I mean, this is, we're doing everything the right way, the upfront way, the way that Coeur d'Alene Aviation does everything. But I always tell all of our employees, is it safe? Is it ethical? Is it right? That's the way we do stuff. And, you know, the entire airport, we align that way. So I wish it was a really bright, sunny update on the air show, but hey, it's going to be amazing. It'll be absolutely awesome.
I think the traction, we'll see some traction gaining here within like that 2 week before the show period, just really blasting out the advertisement. School's out now, or
Yep.
like you said, day of. They're gonna be doing their practice the day before. That's gonna make some noise. People are gonna wonder what's going on. So
Yeah,
it's-
I've asked them to, so they arrive on Thursday, the 26th. The performers do. Friday, the 27th, they're doing, to touch on a few of the things, the airport has a TFR closure on Friday, the 27th from 1 to 3 for rehearsal. And then the TFR is on Saturday from 12:30 to 3:30. Of course, Stancraft, Air Traffic Control in Spokane, they're all aware of it because it's a full-on red dot over it, TFR closed. So I've asked them to, before or after rehearsal on Friday, in coordination with the tower, to go do a hot lap down the lake, all 5 of them, and come back, and maybe a hot lap over town, just to go, so people go, what the hell's going on out there? Are we being bombed or what's going on? So we're trying to create buzz. You know, that's all I can say. So as for how it affects airport tenants, the airport wants, of course, to have a lot of safety, and there will be some security checkpoints for tenants. They just need to show their badge or show that they're coming in here. And the goal is not, we're not trying to push people to come over to buy, airport tenants to buy a ticket. That's not at all it. What we don't want to have is an assembly of 30, 50, 100 people at the end of the runway. The airport literally cannot respond to, God forbid there's an accident, they can't respond to that.
the FAA basically calls it their secondary spectator areas. So they don't want a congregation of 300 people in front of our office here watching the show off here. So Sensor will be closed. Any airport controlled road like Boynton, Gulfstream, North Ramsey, all of those will be closed back with the deputy. If you're an airport tenant, just show them your access. You can get by to your hangar. We're not stopping any normal business operations in that regard. We just can't have big groups of people congregating in different parts of the airport. So in those certain areas.
How about on the north side?
Same thing. We're going to be limiting traffic. I mean, normal Stancraft traffic in and out. They'll be shut down essentially for the couple hours during that TFR period, but they can still have full arrivals all the way leading up to and after. So we'll just have different checkpoints on those roads just to make sure that if it's normal business traffic, like to and from Empire, that's not an issue. But they would rather there not be 1,000 people on the outside of the box trying to watch it from Lancaster or anything like that.
If, for us tenants, it would probably be helpful to get an email to the airport.
We're drafting an entire air show package that's going out
Okay,
by the end of this
explaining
week.
that.
Yeah.
Thing, you know,
It's gonna have-
you've got to access it, make sure you take care of it.
Yeah, this is gonna have a full map of all the closures, the times and schedules for the runway closures, like 2 and 2 0 is gonna be closed from 10 to 4. That's the air, or the actual stack display. Like the gates are open, the public can come into the airport. The show obviously is at 12:30 to 3:30.
The show's 10 to 4, but the performances are 12.
Correct.
Just,
So we cannot have the public on the ramp that close to an operating runway. So Alpha is shut down right in front of Coeur d'Alene Aviation, basically from Hagenow to almost by Brink Myers hangar up there. All the Alpha tenants will be able to still go down Alpha South and get over to 624 in the morning and depart or come in. So those, we're going to get a whole package out on how to operate basically for that week. We're going to be, the fire bosses and the helicopters for IDL that are on the west ramp We're gonna be pushing them to the north of the ramp, opening up those 25 parking spaces. First come, first serve for fly-ins that are flying in during that time. There's a couple other clubs that are coming in here, big groups that week too, that are just doing like a fly around the country type thing. It just happens to be when the air show is, so there's gonna be quite a bit of GA traffic in and out of here. Half of that ramp on the east side is gonna be the hot ramp. That's where the performers will be in and out of, so they're not with the crowd. So there'll be a couple of those tenants that are gonna move over to the west ramp. Basically from Wednesday to Sunday, we're gonna have that ramp open in entirety to be able to use. So we'll be kind of putting airplanes everywhere around.
One of the things I'll say about standing across the airfield and watching is one thing, but a portion of this, it's a production company that I've hired to do this, and they, one of the aircraft takes on a persona. It's like a little engine that could. It's a Vans RB-8, and it wants to show it's flown by a retired fighter pilot. It wants to show that it can do everything that a big plane can do, that a fighter plane can do. And the sound system alone, it's a truck that comes, and along the 2,500 feet of crowd fencing are all these speakers. And listening to the announcer is part of the show. It's taking on that whole persona. So that truck alone was $20,000. I'm like, those must be quite the speakers for $20,000, and the hotel rooms that you get to pay for all the, for everybody. So, and all the fuel and all the oil and all the stuff. So even the smoke oil, we get to pay for the smoke oil. So it should be, I mean, regardless how many people show up, it'll be one hell of a show. The other portion, so everything inside of the fence, we think about airport, but then outside, when the F-35 showed up 2 years ago, the city of Hayden got there was a little bit of, hey, what are you guys doing out there? So we have construction message boards that'll go up out at Highway 95 at Wyoming and Hayden 10 days before, and then we'll move them in to show where parking is at. All the vehicle parking, our parking lot will be handicap parking. The field to the southeast will be normal parking, of course, free parking for everyone. Gas and securing a shuttle bus to bring people from the west ramp around, and then also from the parking lot in. So, yeah, it'll be set up and done well and very, very safe. That's the biggest thing. Be done safely.
So Kirk, have you had any interest in Coeur d'Alene Press doing some stories on this?
No, we've reached out and they very much want to, they don't understand that they want us to pay for advertising is the long and the short of it. And I'm okay with paying for advertising, but so far I put $26,000 into advertising. So I'm kind of done with advertising. If they want to do a story, I mean, they just did a story about painting Black Hawk helicopters.
Mhm.
I would kind of like, I'd like to think, I mean, it is the Coeur d'Alene Press, Coeur d'Alene Airport, Coeur d'Alene Aviation Air Show. I kind of like to think that somebody would want to do a little story about it.
Yeah.
So there's, to be quite honest, I'm about done with paying for a lot of stuff to try and generate more. I mean, Kootenai Health has been amazing in the sponsorship there. They gave us $2,500. In turn, they're hosting a kid-free zone, or excuse me, a kid zone. That $2,500 went towards a big tent, a face painter, a balloon animal maker, and then they're doing all the earplugs and sunglasses. In turn, we were able to get access to their 5,000 employees, and they get a discount code. Tickets are now $25. We have discount codes out to track the marketing, and it's a 10% discount code. And really, the discount code is just to see where the marketing's working. The gal from Kootenai Health, though, has it in with Black Sheep, and we just printed up several hundred flyers that will be at an event for the Black Sheep as well. So like I say, I'm just thinking that there'll be a line of people out to Ziggy's Saturday morning is all I can hope for. So
Print up some tickets.
Well, the people that buy the tickets will get caught in the traffic jam, so why don't you just buy it when you come in?
right? Yeah, well, and so the ticketing app, the air show, the production company, for an air show this size with these performers, they gave us a recommended ticket price of $30 to $50 per ticket. And we started at 30 and we sold nothing. And so I continued to bring it down to try. It's like, do I want to sell 1,000 at 30 or I want to sell 5,000 at 20? So we were just, we played with that to try and make it make sense. But the big thing about a ticketing app is that we can base our infrastructure on, do I need 30 out houses? Do I need 100 out houses? Do I need 10 crowd management? Do I need 30 crowd management? And so that's why the ticketing, the ticket sales is important. So we know what we're doing. And we have all the options. Yeah.
I think Greg had a question.
I just want to know, what's gonna keep the people that park in the west ramp from just watching the show, I know. Because I think that's pretty cheap, because I mean, it's easy for me to go to my hangar and sit there for free, but it's worth the air show.
Yep. And so the folks that, one of our, Rachel, our in-house aeromedical examiner, she was up at her husband was up at Bonners Ferry pancake feed a few weeks ago, and they had 50 aircraft show up with 220 people. So they were going, how do we get in? How do we get there? And that's the key thing that I needed to make sure of, is people know this is not a fly in. You're not going to fly in, taxi over, and you're not going to be able to park over there. So if they fly in and stand over there, by all means. But when they see the shuttle bus coming around, maybe they'll go, hey, I want to get on that and see the show. So there will be people standing around, by all means, do whatever you want to do if you want the full experience. And I mean, we have all the vendors, we have 6 food trucks, and we have a lot of fun stuff. So
I'm all for it, just.
I am.
Phil taught me that.
Phil's on to that.
Now, I would think, I would hope anybody watching from their hangar, because I may well would buy a ticket, which I did.
Yes.
This doesn't come for free.
Yeah, and I guess that's the thing. I have Kootenai Health going, hey, it's the first year for you doing this. What about next year? What else can we get? The production company this is the production company that, the Air Boss, he's the one that coordinates the Blue Angels and the Thunderbirds and a number of shows. This company is the company that puts on the Reno Air races, the Reno Air show. So they're the real deal. And they're already looking at next year. And I've said, until I get checks until we get some major sponsors, and I actually put into Kootenai Health, and they said, well, what would it take for you to do this again? I said, from you guys, 50 grand. And they went, we'll put it on the budget. So there's an interest.
We go to Northwest Specialty and hold their feet to the fire. Competition.
You go talk after this recording's done about our pals over there.
Did Rick want to help you?
I know. Humpty Dumpty, yeah, I know him quite well.
I've worked with him for 25 years.
Age-based, off, yeah. Another conversation. So that's the air show.
Anyway, after the meeting, I'm gonna give Mike Sackford a call, because he's a good friend of Bill Bilby, and told me, Mike, you need to light a fire on those folks down there, because this is a big event. And what'll happen is, if people don't attend it, it'll come and go, and they'll say, well, we should have gone, we'll go next year. So it'll build momentum for next year.
Yeah. I can tell you that as of right now, unless there's a line going out to the highway, it's not gonna happen next year out of my pocket. That's just how I, as again, as business owners in the room here, that takes a lot to come back from. So. Any other questions? Okay.
We've got 3 weeks. Let's hope it looks a lot better in 3 weeks.
Okay.
Thanks, Kurt.
Yep.
Thank you, Kurt.
Mm-hmm.
Item 7, Fort Wayne Airport Association update. No show. I thought Harry was here. Okay, it's an agenda change. Okay, item 8, in terms of business, we don't have any new business. So I'm just gonna go to item B. Request that any input on agenda items for the next meeting be submitted to me by July the 2nd. Anything you guys think of that we should talk about? And I'll move from there to item 9, public comment. For anyone that would like to come up and.
I just have a question. Justin, where are you going with this building tomorrow?
That's what we're planning, and on a tent on the north side, I don't know.
See those Connex boxes under the tower?
That's actually,
I just didn't want to hear it, Sheriff.
no, we're aiming for the north side. I mean, eventually we have our fire station, we have the tower, we have our snow removal building, eventually we'll have our main maintenance shop, heavy maintenance shop up there. It makes sense to have admin up there as well. I would like to have it all just centrally located in one spot. So how that looks or what could that be, we're in the very leading edge of what that looks like. So more to come on that.
Anybody else? We're adjourned.